It's tough. Let's bring in Gene Chatzky, CEO and founder of HerMoney Media. Gene, thanks so much for being here on Connecting America.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good morning. So you've got some important tips for all of us. Let's start with know your numbers. What do you mean exactly by that?
Look, when you are laid off, when you're furloughed, you've got to take stock of what you have, what's coming in, what's going out, and where it's going. This is the part of the equation that you can actually control. And a lot of people don't really have an indication of where they're spending money these days because it happens in the background. It happens with dips and swipes and taps. And so get in there and start tracking what you're spending. Take a deep dive into all of your basic bills, figure out which ones you can negotiate, which ones you can put on hold, what's essential, what's not essential. And this is the time where we really just rein it in. Calling those billers, calling the cable company, calling the internet service provider, all of those just to see where you can negotiate is a good place to start.
How typical is that? Are some of those willing to negotiate in most
Oh,
cases,
yeah.
and who more likely than others?
Look, the cable company, the phone company, the wireless provider, those folks are willing to talk about what package you're on, whether they have a different package. They change these things up all the time, and you can get rid of some services, bring others on. I know a lot of people who are, Gen Z and millennials who play the game where they just have one streaming service at a time. They watch all the things they want to watch, then they cancel it, they go to the next streaming service. It's just a way to sort of rotate the bills and bring the cost down. If you can't pay, it's a different conversation. And if you've got credit card bills, you've got a mortgage, you've got a car loan, and you think you're getting to the point where you are not going to be able to make those payments, you want to get ahead of that. Don't wait for the companies to contact you. Call the companies and explain what's going on. You've been furloughed. You expect to be back in the workforce soon. You want to pay them. You just can't pay them right this second. And ask for some sort of a plan, some sort of relief where they'll pause a payment for a month or two. They're usually willing to do this, and often they're not going to report it to the credit rating services, so you don't have to worry about your credit score tanking when this happens.
So don't be afraid to have that dialogue. That's an important tip. I was wondering about this. If you're a furloughed government worker, do you file for unemployment right now?
You do. If you need the money, particularly, you should file for unemployment. Things are moving slowly right now, and so it could take a little while for those payments to come in. But what you need to know, what's very important, is that if you get that back pay, they can ask for the money back. They can
Mhm.
ask for a refund. So don't spend it unless you have to spend it, or at least be prepared to pay it back. The other way that this sometimes gets handled is that if you file for unemployment again in the future and they have calculated that you owe them money rather than the other way around, they may withhold those future benefits.
Meanwhile, if that's not enough, inflation, as I mentioned, flaring back up in many cases, in particular with coffee and steak and many grocery items. Any other tips for Americans right now that are struggling to make ends meet, how to stretch things a little bit?
There are loans out there for furloughed workers. A lot of people don't know about this. Senator Bernie Sanders actually posted a list on his website of places that are providing loans for furloughed workers. Many of them are credit unions. If you belong to a credit union, that's a great place to start. Go in, have a conversation, or pick up the phone, have a conversation, ask if there's any relief in the system. Also, get in touch with your own representatives in Congress. Sometimes there are state or local programs that offer some relief or some loans as well.
Gene Chatsky, so many great tips to help people out there who may be struggling right now or just worried about how they're going to pay their bills during these uncertain times. We appreciate you being here.